Hello, I want to introduce myself. I am Deborah Franke. I work in the Office of Alumni Engagement and support our alumni in their career development. I also partner with the Career Center and departments on campus to bring alumni and students together for different kinds of career events and programs and engagement. And I'm going to be presenting this webinar on the power of LinkedIn. So let me move on. And this is what we'll discuss today. First, we'll talk about what LinkedIn is, why is it important. We'll look at some of the key elements of your LinkedIn profile. We'll talk about connections. We'll look at some searches you can do on LinkedIn, and then we'll talk about how do you ask somebody for a career conversation, someone that you find on LinkedIn. Now, if I walked up to you and handed you a microphone and said, "What is LinkedIn?" what would you tell me? What do you currently know about LinkedIn? Well, most people have some idea what it's about. Maybe you even have started a profile or you're actively using it. So LinkedIn is a professional networking site that allows you to develop a personal online brand. Now, we all have a brand. In the old days, this used to be called your reputation, what you were known as or known for. Your personal online brand, what do you want the world to know about you as a professional? What's important that they understand about you? Because when you do a Google search for someone, if they have a LinkedIn profile, the link to the LinkedIn profile will be one of the, if not the first search result, it'll be one of the first search results. And you have total control over what goes in your LinkedIn profile. So by really working on your LinkedIn profile, you can decide and not let others decide what your professional brand is going to be. LinkedIn helps you to build knowledge you need to achieve your goals, whatever those goals are, at whatever stage of your life and career you're at. So if you're currently a student, your goals as a student might be different than after you've been working for 2 years, and they might be quite different than after working 20 years, or maybe you've been out of the workforce and you're looking to come back in, or you want to establish a national reputation as an expert. So whatever your goals might be, LinkedIn can help you achieve those. And one of the real strengths of LinkedIn is you can find people in your field or your desired field where you want to be going for mutual professional development. Now, I think there are 3 key things to success on LinkedIn, and we're going to cover each of these in the webinar. The first is develop a strong profile, a profile that really demonstrates who you are, what got you where you are, and most importantly, where you're going next. Secondly, to build your network, and so we're going to talk about connections on LinkedIn. And then it's not enough just to have a great profile and a lot of connections. You have to engage with your network. Put it to work for you. So let's start by talking about your LinkedIn profile. So I want you to get the right mindset about your profile before you really go in and start working on it or go in and make a lot of edits to it. Again, it's that online reputation. What do you want the world to know about you as a professional? What are your interests? Where do you want to be going? What has shaped you? What do you think about your field or your industry? It's your digital introduction. It may be the first impression someone has of you. For whatever reason, they found you on LinkedIn, or they have your name and they look you up and they know nothing about you, and their very first impression is going to be what they see on your profile. We already talked about this idea of a personal brand. It should, your profile should talk about what makes you distinctive. What makes you different from other people who studied the same thing you did, or from other people who worked at the same company you did, or from other people that have followed a similar career path. You are distinctive. The way you go about doing things isn't the same as the way other people do it. The way you think about things, the mindset you bring to it, the things that energize you, all that makes you distinctive. And you can bring out what that is in your LinkedIn profile. You have a lot more freedom on LinkedIn than you do in a resume to tell your story. So your resume is a bunch of pieces of information and facts that's trying to demonstrate your qualifications for a particular role or position. But on LinkedIn, it's much easier to tell your story, particularly in the About section, but really the whole profile is able to do that. What got you where you are, and where do you want to go from here? And your profile needs to be keyword rich. So if you're not familiar with this idea of keywords, you want to get familiar with it. Because it's important for your LinkedIn profile. It's also important for your resume, that both of those need to be chock full of keywords. Now, one way to determine keywords is to collect some job descriptions for the types of roles that you're currently pursuing or you anticipate pursuing at some point when you finish your education. And look for the common, and a lot of them are nouns, not always, sometimes they might be verbs. What are the common words that are characteristic of those types of jobs or positions? That if I looked at a different kind of job or a totally different role in a different industry, I wouldn't see those keywords. So you want your profile to be keyword rich. Having the right mindset about your profile is really, really crucial. So here's some questions. And what I'd encourage you to do is pause the recording and take some time and answer these questions. So the first three you should be able to answer just by thinking, okay? The fourth one might take a little bit of time and some research. But the first question, what is your goal at this stage of your career for your LinkedIn profile? So, right, that depends. Are you currently a student, a recent graduate, an experienced professional? Are you looking for an internship, for a job? Do you want to make connections with people who share common interests? What is your goal? So, because once you know what your goal is for your profile, then you know who your audience is. So let's say your goal for your profile is to demonstrate your qualifications for either an internship or your first professional position. So your audience is going to be potential hiring managers and recruiters, right? Most likely. And other people in your field who may be part of helping you in your internship or job search. That would be your audience. But at a different stage in your career, your goal might be to position yourself with certain expertise in your field. And then your audience is going to be your colleagues in the field that you're trying to show them what expertise you have. So if that's your goal and therefore you have a certain audience, how do you want to be perceived? So one way to think about this third question is to just jot down, say, 3 adjectives that you would like people to use to describe you as a professional. And I'm not going to tell you what those should be, okay? What do you want to be known for or known as a professional? Go ahead and pause the recording, write down your current thoughts on those first 3 questions. Okay, now that you've thought about your goal for your profile, your audience, and how you want to be perceived, if you know some of the keywords that you want to include in your profile, go ahead and jot those down. If not, then you have some work to do. If you need the assistance of the Career Center, go to Handshake, make an appointment with the career counselor, and they can help you with figuring out what the keywords are for your field. Along with this recording, there are some resources included. And the first of those are some videos and tip sheets that LinkedIn has put together, and then some resources by a colleague of mine at another school. LinkedIn in 3 minutes. And this is all things regarding your profile. So he has a video on your summary statement, which is now the About section, okay? What's called your vanity URL and public profile settings. And I'm not going to be able to cover all that. So this is a really great resource, and each of those little videos are 3 minutes or less. Click on one, watch it, go to your profile, adjust your profile, make the changes, come back, watch another one. So those links are included here on the same page that you got this webinar from. Okay, let's go to LinkedIn. And let's begin talking about your LinkedIn profile. So a couple things. Up here in your browser bar is your LinkedIn URL. And this is unique to you. Okay, nobody else has this one. If, when you first set up your account, LinkedIn will use your name and then put a bunch of numbers and letters after it. So what you want to do is clean that up. And then you can use this URL on your resume, in your email signature, on your business card. Particularly if you have a fairly common name, it's really good to include your URL on those things because then people can find your LinkedIn profile quickly. So how do you update that? I'll just show you very quickly here. You're going to come over here and click on what we call the mini-me, and then view profile. Then over on the right, okay, at the top where it says edit public profile and URL. You're going to click on that, and what you'll see next here, edit your custom URL, you click the little blue pencil. And you'll see you can't change the first part of this, but you can change this part here. So depending on how common your name is, you may have to get a little creative with what you put there, okay? If you have a fairly uncommon name, like I do, you may be able to just put your name. But if your name is Susan Smith, then you may have to get a little creative in what you put there. But once you enter something, LinkedIn won't let you save it if someone else has that URL, okay? So if you can't save it, that's because somebody already has that, and you'll have to try something else. Once you save it then, okay, then that is the URL that will take people to your profile. So let me go back to mine, view profile. Okay, so that's how to clean up your URL, and as I said, you can on your business card, your email signature, and on your resume. Be sure if you're including your LinkedIn URL on your resume that you have more than just your resume in your LinkedIn profile. Okay, so your name, pretty straightforward, first name, last name, be sure and capitalize the first letters of each. If you have a nickname, or for instance, when women get married and if they choose to take their husband's name, then they might have, their last name will change, but some people would still know them by their previous name. So you can come and edit this section here, and right here where it says add former name, okay? So maybe I could put in my, my maiden name, Tro, and then if I save it, okay, it's gonna have Deborah, it's gonna have Tro in parentheses, then Frankie. Maybe I have the nickname Dee Dee. I don't, but maybe I do, okay? And a lot of people would know me as Dee Dee and not as Deborah. So I could put that nickname in there, even though it says former name, and see where it says Deborah Dee Dee Frankie. So someone searching for Deborah Frankie would find me, and someone searching for Dee Dee Frankie would find me also. So that's how to handle a nickname or a maiden name, or if there's any situations like that. Okay, so directly underneath your name, this is called your headline. And this is an extremely important part of your profile. Now, LinkedIn's default is current job title at current employer. All right, so if I didn't change it, my headline would automatically be Assistant Director of Alumni Career Programs at LaSalle University. That's what it would say. But I did change it, and you can change yours too. Oh, if you have no information in the experience section and you're a student, it's even more exciting. It says student at LaSalle University, okay? So the good news is you can make this headline say whatever you want. And that is a great opportunity to right up here in this, I think there's some name for this section up at the top here. I forget what it is. But right up here below your name, you can highlight who you are as a professional, what some of your areas of interest are, what value you can potentially bring to an employer, where you're going in your career, all of that, any of that, all right? So how you edit it, again, you click this little blue pencil, that's the edit symbol, and down here where it says, right here we are, headline, okay? That's where you would change your headline. All right, so I don't want to change anything. Okay, let's go back briefly to the PowerPoint. And I want to show you some examples of headlines. So as a student, in particular, these are some examples of how you kind of could describe yourself as a student, all right? So whatever your major is, or your field of study, student, you could include LaSalle if you want. And then maybe an area, in this case, they're talking about, they're doing some research, okay? And they're also involved in community service. So here's another student, okay, who wants to tell us that they love music, they're studying marketing and public relations, and they also want us to know that they're an internet wizard. Now here's a computer science student, okay, and they've kind of got some of the roles that interest them. Or perhaps these are things they're currently doing, either in a job or as a hobby, whatever. So that's one approach you can take. You can take the aspiring, where do you aspire to, okay? And so here's a biology student, and again, listing interests. So this student, right, is aspiring, is looking forward to working, perhaps getting further education or working in areas of genetics and developmental biology. Here we actually have the word aspiring, medical biotechnologist. So in this case, the first part of the headline is where they're looking to go, and then some of the areas that they're studying that are relevant. Okay, and here's a biology senior, interested in, okay, interested in what? Clinical research in a pharmaceutical company. So this would be the type of headline you might want to have if you are, say, a senior or a grad student and you're looking for a full-time position. These are just some examples. Here's examples of seeking. So marketing student seeking a social media internship, okay? A health management student, again, what are they seeking? They're aspiring to be a leader in healthcare. Business honors students seeking position in marketing. Here's a student seeking an internship in social media, marketing, and communications. And little enticement here. They're a co-founder of an innovative children's program. Interesting. Makes me want to re-look at the rest of their profile to learn more about that. So if you can put something like that in your headline, kind of a teaser, right? That's going to make people say, oh, that's a little different, or that's kind of interesting. Let me read further. So think of a headline when you go online and you see articles. What's the purpose of the headline? Or if you're reading a magazine or a newspaper, right? What's the purpose of a headline? It's to get your attention and make you want to do what? Read further. So that's what your headline on your LinkedIn profile should do. You want it to get somebody's attention and make them want to read further. All right, we looked at examples. Okay, so that's the headline. Hope that gives you some ideas. If you're struggling with a good headline, come into the Career Center, make an appointment on Handshake, and talk to a counselor, and they can work with you on writing your headline. All right, let's talk about your LinkedIn photo, okay? I pulled a bunch of things not to do here, okay? So you don't want a full body shot, okay? You don't want someone else in the picture, like here. You don't want something strange in the background. Please, no pictures of you in the car, no pictures of you, right, of you out having a great vacation, right? Some of these would be fine for other social media, but not for LinkedIn. This one here might be okay, except I would suggest cropping it so that it's more just the face. You really want just a headshot, okay? And so in terms of, you know, this, in terms of getting a headshot, this one's okay, but we just have a cluttered background and poor lighting. So you do want to include a photo. You want to look professional, but you don't have to go to a professional photographer. Dress appropriate, whatever you decide that is for your profession or your desired profession. And try some different backgrounds. Have a friend take some pictures of you. You can always crop it. So, you know, just tell them to you know, get a shot like this, and then you can crop it so it's closer to your face. But very important to have a photo, but be sure that it represents you as a professional. All right, we're going to go back to LinkedIn now. What's another thing you notice as you look at my profile here? I hope you notice this back here. I call this the background. I don't know why LinkedIn gives so much real estate to this block. If you don't put anything up there, LinkedIn has like a blue thing with lines and nodes and all that. I guess it's supposed to look like a network. So I would encourage you to put up an image that again is somehow a reflection of who you are, what your interests are, something you're passionate about, where you want to go in your career. When you're looking at other people's profiles on LinkedIn in your field or industry, and you know, to notice the background. A lot of them won't have a background, right? They'll just have LinkedIn's default. Some of the backgrounds you'll think, I don't see how that, and then you'll come across, you'll say, oh, that's really interesting. That's very clever. Yes, that's indicative of their field. So you can see here, since I'm all about career, okay, I found an image and cropped it so that it would look like this. This would be my background. You can come in and you can change your photo, your background, your headline, any of that anytime. Okay, underneath your headline is your location. So when you set up your LinkedIn profile, you entered a zip code, and based on that, LinkedIn gives you the option of the specific town that you that's associated with a zip code or a metropolitan area. Okay, so I would always recommend selecting a metropolitan area. So for many of you, it's going to be Greater Philadelphia. Okay, if you're from another metropolitan area, you can certainly use that one instead, particularly if your intention might be to return to that after you finish. Let's say you're here in Philly, but you know you want to move to Denver. You could change that to Denver to indicate that that's the area that you're interested in. Occasionally you'll see somebody just, it says United States, and there might be situations where that would be appropriate, but in general, my recommendation for location is to select Greater Philadelphia, or to select a metropolitan area. Okay, so we've covered everything in that top box there. Now we're going to talk about this section called the About section. It used to be called the Summary. The first thing to notice is that it's just the first 2 to 3 lines that show up until somebody has to click see more to read it. So this About section, the wonderful thing about it is it's a blank sheet of paper. You can say anything you want. The hard thing about the About section is it's a blank sheet of paper. Where do I start? Okay, so here's the place where you get to tell some of your story, where you can share what motivates you, what your goals are, what makes you unique. So I'm going to show you a couple of abouts that see what you think of them. Here's one way to get started. How would your friends and your colleagues describe you as a professional? Now, I'm also going to share with you, we're going to go back to the PowerPoint briefly. I'm going to share with you some questions that might be helpful in working on your About section. Now, I don't suggest trying to answer all these questions. Select 2, at the most 3. Go ahead and pause this recording, read through these questions, select 2 or 3, and just begin to jot some notes down. And from that, begin to write your About section. You can always come back and edit it. You can always add to it. You can always scrap what you have and do something completely different. I'm due for an upgrade soon, okay? But get started. Don't ignore the About section, even if it scares you a little bit. This is your opportunity to tell the world about you as a professional. Take advantage of it. Now, what I'd like to do is show you a couple of profiles right now. So let's see here. Okay, so here is Megan. She is an alum of LaSalle, okay? And interesting background, okay? What do we learn about her? I think we learned she likes travel, likes to visit places, okay? And her About section, look how she starts this off. Everyone has a story to tell. This is my story, okay? And then she goes on to tell a little bit about her career progression and a little bit, some personal information actually there. And that's totally up to you if you want to include some of that. So what you'll notice here, so for instance, she was an RA, okay, for 2 years. And look how she starts this off. This is in her experience section, not her About section. Who would have ever thought that looking after 250 college residents would be this much fun? Okay, so she's not just listing tasks and responsibilities here in the experience section. She's actually trying to make it kind of interesting and engaging. Okay, here she worked at the Hallmark store. And many people would think, there's nothing I could say about that that would be relevant to being an accountant, okay? But here, right, she's telling us how long she's worked there. She started out as a cashier. She was promoted, okay? And then some of her other responsibilities, and she's continued to work there. So again, we're learning a little bit about her, some of the skills that she's acquired that actually are relevant to her profession as an accountant. So here's her talking about some internships, okay? And talking here, let's see, about some of the things she was able to learn. So any internships, work you did while you were a student, talk about what you learned, the knowledge you gained, the skills you developed, the perspective on that profession that you developed in that internship or in that volunteer role or in that, that job that you had while you were a student. All right, let's look at another one. Thought I had one more on here, I guess not. Okay, so this is sort of a sample profile that another school put together, okay? But here it starts out, I've been interested in all things communication related since the first time I touched a copy of the Columbia Tribune, okay? And then this person goes on to talk about how their coursework, and then in this case, where they hope to be going. And currently they're seeking a summer internship. So you see how that they've taken advantage of that About section. Okay, I want to show you 2 others, and then we'll move on. Lauren is a LaSalle alumna in public health field. If you're in the public health field, you would immediately know what this background image is. Okay, so that's very relevant to her as a professional. And here's her About section. I love public health. Reading about new initiatives, I love it all. I journeyed for many years trying to find how I could make a difference in the world. So she's not afraid to tell us it took her a while to figure that out, okay? Right here, look at this sentence. Fortunately, my research project fell apart. So something that at that moment was probably a crisis for her actually ended up being very pivotal in her having some experiences that helped her figure out what she did want to be doing. So see how she's telling us her story here? And then this last paragraph, she's talking about the focus of her current research. Now you take a look, as you're looking at other people's profiles, look in their About section. See what you like, what you dislike, okay, about the About section. And that will help you to think about what you want to include in yours. My only comment on this one is I think this first paragraph is too long. I would break it into 2 or 3 paragraphs, so there'd be 3 or 4 paragraphs total. All right, so take advantage of that About section. And the Experience section also. Take advantage of the Experience sections. Don't just list tasks and responsibilities. Tell us what you achieved. Use the STAR format, S-T-A-R, situation, task, activity, result. If you're not familiar with STAR, the Career Center can help you with that. So tell us what you accomplished. Tell us what you learned. Tell us what skills you developed. Tell us how this position or this research project or this volunteer work, how did that help you figure out where you wanted to go professionally? Okay? Maybe it was, I'm so glad I had this opportunity to work in an office because I learned that sitting at a desk all day is not what I want to be doing. Great. Okay? We learned something about you. Okay, some other sections of the profile. So we've talked about the About section, the Experience section, the Education section. You can do whatever you want with that, but again, take advantage of the fact that you can tell part of your story. So here I actually talk about how I started out in one field and then made a switch, and I had the opportunity to co-op with the Environmental Protection Agency, okay? And here I talk about what I learned. I learned to relate to adults as peers and saw how things got done in an office environment. For my master's, I talk about one of my favorite courses and why I enjoyed it so much. So go ahead and take advantage of the Education section as well. Now, sometimes students particularly will struggle in the Experience section because they don't have a lot of paid employment, but you can include other things here. You can include volunteer work that you've done, extracurricular activities that you're involved in school, organizations where you have some kind of leadership or planning role, and create put that in the Experience section. A specific project you worked on in one of your classes, you could highlight by creating its own Experience section. And then as you get more work experience, those volunteer things can move to the volunteer section of the LinkedIn profile. And the projects become just a bullet in the Education section rather than having their own section here in the Experience. So your profile is constantly changing because you're constantly moving forward in your career. All right, just a few more things on the profile. So here is volunteer experience, the separate section. So you can use that if you want to. Skills and endorsements, very important that you have it, I would say have at least 25 skills here. I believe you can have up to 50. And you can indicate which of those skills you want to have. You could have 3 skills that show up here, okay? For someone to see my other skills, they would have to click show more. So I decided these are the 3, okay, skills that I want to really highlight on my profile. Recruiters who use the recruiter version of LinkedIn actually have this as a field. And so they can say, look for these specific skills in the skills and endorsement section of profiles. And so that's why you want to be sure to have skills in there that are relevant to the types of internships or jobs that you're interested in. So as you look at profiles of people who maybe are out of school for a couple years with the same degree as you, doing work similar to what interests you, take a look at what skills they have in their skills section, and that may give you ideas for skills you want to have. This is also where you want all those keywords that you collected, okay, to show up in the skills section, but you also want those keywords to show up in your headline, in your about section, and in your experience section. You want to scatter those keywords throughout the profile. Recommendations are things that other people on LinkedIn have written about you, nice things that they've written about you. You can request a recommendation. You can write recommendations for other people. Those are the givens here, okay? I'm not going to spend a lot of time explaining how to do all that. My suggestion for each job, for each internship, try and have at least one recommendation, ideally from a manager. If not a manager, then a colleague. And there might be a professor or two who you worked with closely doing research or on a particular paper, or that professor got to know you really well through a class or classes, and perhaps that professor would write a recommendation. So let me just point out while we're here, if there's anything about LinkedIn and you're like, I don't know how to do this, or what's this section about, the place to go is the LinkedIn help. So it's very easy to get there. It's just linkedin.com/help. And just like any other, so we need help on recommendations. So I'm just going to type that in, and here we go. Accepting and displaying, visibility, deleting, hiding that, right? So overview. So that would be a place to start. So just go to linkedin.help, type in a keyword. If that doesn't answer your question, contact someone in the Career Center, contact me, we'll get you an answer. All right, back to the PowerPoint. So some final thoughts on your profile. You want it to be full of those keywords that are relevant to your field, your industry, and the types of internships and jobs that interest you. Take advantage of that about section. That will set you apart from the, 95% of people who don't use their about section. Take advantage of the experience section and don't just list tasks and responsibilities. Tell us something more. What did you learn? How did you grow and develop? What did you actually accomplish? You can include projects in your experience section. There's also, under accomplishments, there's a project section if you want to include them there. Take advantage of all the sections on LinkedIn. Use some of the optional sections as well. Add media. I didn't even get to talk about that, but you can upload photos, documents, videos, right? People love, particularly videos. So really, I should have a short little video of maybe me doing a live training in a workshop or presenting on a topic, right? To demonstrate, hopefully, demonstrate my capabilities in those areas. And just remember, your LinkedIn profile isn't your resume. It's so much more than your resume. Take advantage of that. All right, secret to success, number 2, build your network. Hey, if you've got enough for now, you want to go work on your profile, that's fine. Go work on your profile, then come back to this recording sometime in the future and look for steps 2 and 3. Right now, we're going to talk about how to build your network. First, we need to understand the idea of connections in LinkedIn. So on other social media, you have friends, right? But on LinkedIn, you don't have friends. Sorry, you have connections. So I am I am Ms. Purple here in the middle. And I have invited people to connect with me, or they have invited me to connect with them. And we've said yes. So we become first level connections. So the red people are my first level connections. So first level connections, couple things. You can message them through LinkedIn. And you have access to their email address. And unless they've changed their settings, you can view their first level connections. So your first level connections they have first level connections, right? So I'm Deborah, I'm connected to Sam, and Sam has his own first level connections. Those are my second levels. It's kind of like parents and grandparents, right? One generation removed. And your second levels all have first level connections. Those are your third level connections. So if you do a search and you find someone as a second level to you, that means they're connected to someone that you're also connected to. And that can be very powerful because you can ask that person that you're both connected to, hey, could you shoot this person a quick email to introduce me and let them know that I would love to chat with them about their experience at such and such a company. All right, so that's what we mean when we say first, second. Now, the next question, the question that comes up is, who should I connect with? And everybody answers that question a little differently. So on the left here, we have people who say, I'm only going to have first level connections with people that I've worked with and I can vouch for. So that could be several hundred people, but it's not going to be several thousand. All right. On the right here is kind of the other extreme. And this person says, I'll connect with anyone and anything. If it appears to be breathing, if it crawls on the ground, I don't care how many legs it has, I'll say yes. Sometimes next to someone's name, you'll see LION, LinkedIn Open Networker. And basically what that person is saying is, if you invite me to connect, I'll say yes. Now, most of us are somewhere in the middle here of these two extremes. So just as an example for myself, these are my criteria for first level connections. Anyone I know personally or professionally. Okay. Anyone in my field, anywhere in the world. However I define my field at the time. Because of my role, alumni, students, staff, and faculty of LaSalle. And then fourth, anyone else that can convince me it's a good idea to connect on LinkedIn. And that's it. 4 simple criteria. So when someone invites me to connect, it's very easy for me to say yes or no, because I know what my criteria are. So who are some of the people you might invite to connect? I'm hearing you out there saying things like fellow students, people you've worked with, are currently working with, or worked with in the past, managers, family and friends, people in your profession, your areas of interest, okay? If you're a dietitian and you're interested in maternal health, okay, then you're going to use LinkedIn to search for people who have specialized in that and invite them to connect. Professors, okay, so those are some of the people that you might want to connect with. Now, not everyone that you invite to connect is going to say yes. Why is that? Well, 2 reasons primarily. One is you don't know what their criteria are for first level connections. And 2, you don't know how active they are on LinkedIn. Okay. So not everyone that you invite will connect with you. That's okay. So you think about, who do you want to have as first level connections? So how do you invite someone, and how do you respond to someone's request to connect with you? Well, it's pretty easy. So let me find someone here. Here's Michael, okay? And for whatever reason, I want to invite Michael to connect with me. Maybe he works at a company that interests me. So I'm going to click this button that says connect. Now, if you don't see that button, click here where it says more, and then you'll see connect down here. If you remember nothing else from this webinar, please remember this. Always, always, always add a note. Always personalize your request. So I might say something like, Michael, I'm looking to build my network of communications professionals in the Mid-Atlantic area at companies that have a strong reputation in the field. I don't know, something like that, right? So a little bit about why you want to connect with them, okay? Or Michael, I read an article that you posted on LinkedIn about such and such and took a look at your profile. Would love to connect with you. Okay. And then I typically suggest that you, and they'll know who you are, but go ahead and sign with your full name. So obviously, if you know somebody really well, you know, if it's a best friend, you can say, you know, hey, Scott, let's connect on LinkedIn, right? You can be pretty informal. But if it's someone that you don't know, okay, you might just want to say something like, you know, I'm working on building up my connections on LinkedIn of professionals who have specialized in such and such during their career. Would you like to connect? Okay. And so something like that. That's the kind of message. And then I would click done. Now, I'm not actually going to send this to Michael. And that invitation goes out to Michael, and he decides whether or not to connect with me. Now, when you get a request, when someone wants to connect with you, you'll get an email to whatever primary email you have associated with your LinkedIn account. And when you get that email, you can just click accept, or you can go and look at their profile, okay, which is what I do. And I see, is this somebody I want to connect with or not, right? Now, in this case, okay, Michael is a LaSalle alumnus. So actually, I am going to invite him to connect. Okay, and I kind of have my standard, I've actually saved it. Now you know all my deep, dark secrets. Okay, Michael. All right. This is what it says. I'm always looking to grow my network of LaSalle alumni. Would you like to connect? So just the fact that he's an alum, I'm saying let's connect. Okay. So off that message goes. You'll see this change to pending. So I know that I've sent an invitation, but he's not accepted yet. Okay, where can you see all the people who invited you to connect or that you've invited them? You click up here on the black bar where it says My Network. And then you click where it says See All. And you have two tabs here, Received. So these are all the people that have invited me to connect with them. And then Sent, you'll see I've sent a lot because I connect with a lot of alumni. See, here's the one I just sent to Michael. Now, if, for instance, maybe I take a look at Warren's profile and it's not obvious to me why we should connect, so I might come here and rather than just say no, okay, I might send Warren a message. Warren, I normally connect with people in my field or those I've gotten to know personally or professionally. Is there a specific reason you'd like to connect? Let me know, okay? And then if Warren replies, then I can make a decision whether or not to connect with him, which is actually what I do. So down here, here's the message I sent to Allison. I give people a month to reply. If they don't, then I ignore, okay? So again, if I want to connect, I would click accept. If I don't, I would click ignore. So I get to that through the My Network and then See All over here. Okay, so we have a few minutes left and we're going to talk about how to do searches. So if you know someone's name, okay, you're just going to type their name in here, okay, and type in their name, hit the enter key. And here's everyone named Mary McGettigan. And there's quite a few of them, okay? So then I can use some of the filters across. So if I know that Mary, for instance, is in the Philadelphia area, I can narrow it down to Philadelphia. All right? And now I've only got, what do I have? 3 to choose from, okay? And I happen to know the one I want is this one here. And so now I could invite her to connect with me if I wanted to. So if it's a very common name, it's gonna, John Smith, you know, we only have, there's only 158,000 on all of LinkedIn. There's only 1,900, okay, in all of Philadelphia. But if, for instance, oh, I know this person is a LaSalle alum, okay, I can come and now narrow it down to LaSalle University, One thing though to keep in mind is the list that LinkedIn has of colleges and universities has LaSalle University and LaSalle University School of Business. So you want to select both of those. And now I've narrowed it down just to 2. All right. And I should probably pretty easily, I can figure out the right one there. So you can use these people filters across here. Okay. Location, connections, current company, if I know what company, or I can click on all filters and then see some more filters. So you can just play around with that. So that's how to find a person. Okay, how do we find alumni? I want to clear all my filters. All right, clear filters. Okay, how do I find alumni in a specific, with a certain word in their job title or whatever, okay? So I'm going to use these people filters. There are 2 ways to search for alumni. One is by using these people filters. So I click in the search box, I then click people. You see people showing up here, and then all filters. Again, just like I showed you before, if you don't see LaSalle showing up, you would start typing it, but to get all alumni, you want to select the school business also. So we have 52,000 results. But I'm interested in the field of organizational development. So I'm going to type the word organizational in this title field. And now it's just going to give me LaSalle alumni who have the word organizational in their current job title. And here they are. So very quickly, right, I've been able to find alumni who are potentially working in the field I want to work in. And so I can click on any of these and go to their profile, read a little bit about them, see what their background is, what's their connection to LaSalle. And okay, now I'm going to invite that person to connect with me. I'm looking to grow my network of organizational development professionals. And I'm reaching out to fellow LaSalle alumni, or I'm reaching out to explorers to grow my network. Would you like to connect? Whatever. Once Jerry connects, then we set up a phone call and I ask Jerry some questions about the work that Jerry does at Lehigh Valley Network and advice that Jerry has for me. What can I be doing as a student to prepare for a future in this field? Okay, so what we were talking about is using the people filters, okay, to search for alumni by putting in the two LaSalles here, and then taking advantage of these other filters. Another way to do this is, I'm going to clear again. Let's say I have a particular interest, maternal health. So I'm going to just put that in the search box and hit my enter key, and this is going to give me, if people is selected, okay, if I select all, there's 16,000. Those are going to be people with that phrase, jobs with that phrase, content on LinkedIn, LinkedIn groups, et cetera, et cetera. If I just want people, I click people, and there's about 16,000 profiles that have that phrase somewhere in the profile. Now, again, I could now narrow it down if I wanted to, okay, using these filters or going to all filters. So maybe I'm only interested in people in the Philadelphia area with an interest in maternal health. And now I'm at 158. And I could probably, scroll through a couple pages and easily find, a dozen people here in the Philadelphia area that are working in the field of maternal health. I can take a look at where they're working, etc. Okay, I said there's 2 ways to search for alumni. The other way is to start at the university page. Type in LaSalle University, look for LaSalle University School. And this will be the last thing we have time for here. So this is the university page. I'm not interested in who works here. I'm interested over here on the left on the alumni. So I click the alumni. And I get 6 columns of data. I'm going to click show more. Where they live, where they work, LinkedIn is looking at the current employer. I'm going to click next. Next 2 columns of data. What they do, LinkedIn is analyzing the current job title. What they studied, LinkedIn is analyzing the degree in the education section. Click next. What they're skilled at, LinkedIn's pulling that from the skills and endorsement section of everyone's profile, and then how you're connected. Okay, first, second, and then everybody else. The cool thing about this tool is maybe I'm only interested in people who studied marketing. So I can click on that bar, and now I'm just going to see the results for the 3,244. So here's my filter, marketing, and I can see where they work. So maybe I'm interested, oh, there's 20 at Johnson & Johnson. What kind of work do people who studied marketing do at Johnson & Johnson? I can click on Johnson & Johnson, and now I'm just going to see the 20 who studied marketing and are currently working at Johnson & Johnson. I scroll down, I have these little mini profiles, okay? And I can, let's see. Will I click marketing? Here's a senior brand manager. So I can click on that. It'll take me to her profile. I can read about her. I can see what her career progression was. I can see when she graduated from LaSalle. And based on that, maybe I say, hey, I'd like to have a conversation with Katie and learn more about the work she does. And again, what kind of advice she would have for me to get into marketing at a company like J&J. All right, so we have talked about what LinkedIn is, why it's important. We talked about your profile, we talked about connections, and we looked at some searches you can do. So I hope that's gotten you started on LinkedIn. It's a lot more I could cover. And feel free to reach out to the Career Center, or feel free to reach out to me if I can assist you further. Thanks, and have a great day. Bye-bye.